Hari Om. Let us now continue. So, Yoga Rudhatva should be followed by Samyag Darshana Nishtha, a commitment to self knowledge or self inquiry. One should be committed to self inquiry, otherwise called Vedanta Vicharaha. Therefore, there are two stages. Stage number one, Vedanta Vichara Yogyata Praptihi. Vedanta Vichara Yogyata Praptihi. In other words, Vedanta study worthiness. Vedanta Vichara Yogyata Praptihi. Acquiring the fitness for Vedanta inquiry. And then the second stage is Vedanta Vicharaha. Engaging in Vedanta inquiry itself. So Vedanta Vichara Yogyata Praptihi followed by Vedanta Vicharaha. Applying Swamiji's rule that we saw earlier, without Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga is impossible. Without Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga is incomplete. Applying that same principle here, without Vedanta Vichara Yogyata Praptihi, Vedanta Vicharaha is impossible. And without Vedanta Vicharaha, Vedanta Vichara Yogyata Praptihi is incomplete. This is repeatedly talked about because this is considered important by our Shruti Mata. This is called Abhyasa. What is important is always laid emphasis on. Until the student, until it becomes second nature for a student, the gurus will continue to repeat these statements until it is firmly registered and never forgotten. Never. Even if woken up in deep sleep at 12 midnight, I should be able to repeat that definition. It should become ingrained in every sinew of our personalities. The first three stages of life, namely Brahmacharya Ashrama, Grihastha Ashrama, and Vanaprastha Ashrama, focus on preparing oneself for inquiry, while the final stage or the final ashrama, sannyasa ashrama, is dedicated to the inquiry itself. This is the Vedic design for life's progression. Again, applying the rule. Without the first three stages of life, namely Brahmacharya Ashrama, Grihastha Ashrama, and Vanaprastha Ashrama, without going through these three stages and preparing oneself, the final stage, sannyasa ashrama, that is dedicated to the inquiry itself, is impossible. And without sannyasa ashrama or dedicating oneself to the inquiry, the first three ashramas, namely brahmacharya, grihastha, and vanaprastha ashrama, are incomplete. One can go on and on and on, extrapolating from the main definition that Swamiji gave out. This is the Vedic design for life's progression on the spiritual path. This is given out as an aid, as an instruction to a spiritual seeker, serious spiritual seeker. Serious spiritual seeker. Here again, we must keep in mind that our present society has come quite a distance from the older Vedic society. So, the dividing lines between these four ashramas have faded quite a bit. So, they need to be interpreted differently. Brahmacharya ashrama in the Vedic times involved actually going and learning at a gurukulam under a under an acharya at the gurukulam, physically moving away from home for a period of say 12 years, learning what has to be learned and then returning home. That was brahmacharya ashram. Then the formal entry into grihastha ashrama, and then once duties have been reasonably executed, one weans oneself away from the family, from the responsibilities, family responsibilities, after handing them over, after handing over the baton to the next generation. The parents leave home, literally leave home, go to the forest, set up a kind of a hermitage, and lead a simple life, disciplining themselves through austerities, through prayers, through upasanas, etc., etc., given their limited resources, because they have already done a lot of karma yoga in the earlier ashrama, in the grihastha ashrama. The Pancha Mahayajnas have been extensively practiced. Chitta Shuddhi has been achieved through grihastha ashrama. In Vanaprastha ashrama, in the Vedic design, the focus was on Upasana Yoga. Upasana Yoga. Reducing the wavelength of the mind. Withdrawal was the focus. And once a sufficient amount of withdrawal was achieved, then the prepared individual was given permission to leave even that infrastructure and take to sannyasa, ashrama sannyasa. These four ashramas were well defined, well demarcated in the Vedic times. In Brahmacharya ashrama, one would learn the roadmap of both Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga, what was to be expected on the spiritual journey. Vedic society primarily focused on moksha. That was the only agenda. There were only two nishthas. One is Karma Yoga and the other is Jnana Yoga. Upasana Yoga was and is considered part of Karma Yoga. It is a Manasa Vyapara. So, in the Brahmacharya Ashrama stage, one is given to understand the roadmap that needs to be of the terrain that needs to be traversed, the roadmap. You get a holistic picture in Brahmacharya Ashrama. And then once you have completed your studies, you are free to choose depending on your inclination, depending on your swabhava. You are free to choose whether you would like to move linearly to the next ashrama, namely Grihastha ashrama, or jump directly into sannyasa ashrama. One could either enter Grihastha ashrama or jump directly to sannyasa ashrama from brahmacharya ashrama. If one entered Grihastha ashrama, then one would have to complete living through Grihastha ashrama, move on to Vanaprastha ashrama. Again, from Grihastha ashrama, one can take a leap to sannyasa ashrama with a focus on Jnana Yoga. Or one can progress to Vanaprastha ashrama and then move on to sannyasa ashrama. The choice is the individual's depending upon his vasanas, his swabhava, and in of course in consultation with one's acharya, one's guru. Whether one needs more preparation and enter grihastha or one is prepared enough and therefore can jump grihastha and vanaprastha and directly plunge into sannyasa ashrama. One has to take these steps in consultation with one's guru or guide. This was in the Vedic times. Now they need to be redefined in keeping with the present times. What you and I are doing now as students under Swamiji is depending on where we are on the spiritual ladder. When we enter studenthood, we are essentially brahmacharis. We are students. He who follows the Vedas or the Vedic teaching. So all of us are brahmacharis depending on the level at which we are. Then, of course, most of us are grihasthas. And continuing to be brahmacharis. So there you go. There is an overlap now. It's not clearly demarcated. There is an overlap. So, being a grihastha you are still continuing your studies. You're not only focused on doing karma yoga, the Panchamaha yajnas, but also parallelly studying. Jnana yoga vyavasthitihi, as Krishna said in the 16th chapter. Abhayam sattva samshuddhihi jnana yoga vyavasthitihi, Krishna said. So, we are practicing jnana yoga even while in grihastha. Then, as we progress and get to understand more of the Vedic teaching, we also, under the guidance of Swamiji and our acharyas, practice upasana yoga. Like Swamiji conducts many meditation sessions, relaxation meditation, concentration meditation, expansion meditation, value meditation, then Vedantic meditation. 5 types of meditation Swamiji conducts every now and then. We are still Grihastha Ashramis, but we are practicing Upasana Yoga. We don't leave home to set up a hermitage for ourselves. It's all happening in the current infrastructure. All that we need is to create time and an available mind in and through our activities in Grihastha. If one can do that, one is a great achiever. Sitting in Grihastha, you can achieve moksha. Then again, while in Grihastha, we are studying Vedanta from Swamiji, from our acharyas. We are doing Vedanta Vichara, which in the Vedic times was the purview of Sannyasa Yoga, Sannyasa Ashrama, which is not the case necessarily in today's times. Right here in Grihastha, we can and we are studying Vedanta. So, in keeping with the present times, the definition of the 4 ashramas has to be modified. We will continue this discussion and take our study forward in the upcoming capsules. Until then, Hari Om. ॐ दुर्जनः सज्जनो भूयात् सज्जनः शान्तिमाप्नुयात् शान्तो मुच्येत बन्धेभ्यः मुक्तश्चान्यान् विमोचयेत् सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.